Will Fani Willis have a meltdown over this decision in the Trump case? Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee threw a wrench in Fani Willis' case against Donald Trump. McAfee postponed any further proceedings against the former president until after a decision is made about whether or not Fani Willis can continue prosecuting the case. Having kept up on the drama surrounding Fani Willis and her office's case against Donald Trump? Don't worry. We have you covered. This courtroom drama has everything you would want in a soap opera: sex, cash, and even an accidental admission to a completely different crime. Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney Fani Willis is facing a slew of misconduct allegations for how she handled her case against President Donald Trump. Willis hired Travis Wade as the lead prosecutor in the case and eventually had a sexual relationship with him. There have been a lot of questions surrounding when the relationship between Willis and Wade began. Both Willis and Wade claim their relationship began after Wade was hired to work in the district attorney's office. But testimony from colleagues and friends suggests the relationship actually began in 2019 before Wade was a Fulton County employee. Robin Brian Yeardy, a longtime friend of Willis's who also worked in the DA's office, testified the romantic relationship between Willis and Wade began in 2019.
Do you know if Ms. Willis and Mr. Wade started dating in October of 2019?
I don't know if it was October of 2019.
Could it possibly be November of 2019?
Could possibly.
Okay. And when we spoke, you said it was shortly after the municipal court conference, though, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you know that their relationship, their personal relationship, began shortly after this municipal court conference?
Yes.
And when I say personal, romantic. I just want to make sure we don't get in an argument over what personal and romantic is later. When I ask you personal, do you take that to mean romantic?
Yes.
Okay. And do you understand it that their relationship began in 2019 and continued until the last time you spoke with her?
Yes.
The prosecution went on to ask Byron Yeardy if Willis and Wade's relationship began before Wade's tenure at the DA's office. She confirmed the two were romantically involved when Willis hired Wade as the Trump prosecutor in 2021.
Are you certain that Ms. Willis told you about the romantic relationship with Mr. Wade prior to November 1st of 2021?
Yes.
Now, did you also have observations of Mr. Wade and Ms. Willis together prior to November 1st of 2021?
Yes.
And are those observations, were those in a social setting?
Yes.
And did you observe them do things that are common among people having a romantic relationship?
Yes.
Such as, can you give us an example?
Hugging, kissing, just affection.
All before November 1st of 2021, correct?
Yes.
Here's where things get even more complicated. In his divorce proceedings, Nathan Wade claimed he never had a relationship with Fani Willis.
Mr. Wade has filed other affidavits in his divorce case which contradict this affidavit. His interrogatories, which were sworn and verified and filed in that case, said that he did not have a personal relationship, that there had been none. So we've got two declarations in two different courts, both sworn, both filed with the court, that say something completely different. His May 2023 affidavit, where he was asked if he had, and this was in 2023, Judge. So the state's response last week said they had a relationship that began in 2022. In May of 2023, he filed in the Cobb County Superior Court a pleading that said specifically if he had had any relations with a person other than his spouse during the course of the marriage, and the typical things that are asked in a divorce case, and he responded none. After we filed our motion in this case, he updated those and he pled privilege under the Fifth Amendment. So we've got a filing under oath by Mr. Wade in 2023 stating he didn't have a relationship. Then we've got a filing stating he did have one starting in 2022. And then once that came about, he fixes the incorrect affidavit that was filed back in 2023. So we definitely have a conflict, Judge, in the evidence as far as when this relationship started.
Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee agreed with the prosecution and said Terrence Bradley, Wade's former law partner and divorce lawyer, must testify in this case. According to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, McAfee's decision came after an hour and 20-minute closed-door meeting with Bradley. The judge concluded some of Bradley's communications with Wade are not protected by attorney-client privilege. What do you think we'll learn from Terrence Bradley's testimony? Let us know in the comments below. Haven't kept up with the trial and want to know what happened in the first go-round? Keep watching. Willis and Wade's ethics have been called into account because the two were taking all kinds of luxurious vacations together on Fulton County taxpayers' dime.
Said in the affidavit that you roughly shared travel, though, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this roughly sharing travel, you're saying she reimbursed you.
She did.
And where did you deposit the money she reimbursed you?
It was cash. She didn't give me any checks.
So she paid you cash for her share of all these vacations.
Mr. Schaefer, you'll step out if you do that again.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so all of the vacations that she took, she paid you cash for.
Yes, ma'am.
And you purchased all of these vacations on your business credit card, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you included those in deductions on your taxes, correct?
No, ma'am.
No, you did not.
Throughout the process, it was discovered that Willis had hoards of cash in her home. When Willis was asked about having tens of thousands of dollars in cash laying around, she got defensive.
My words, cash hoard that you had collected over time.
Cash what?
Hoard, H-O-R-D-E.
Oh, I thought you said something different, sir.
No, I'm afraid I wouldn't say that under any circumstances to you or in court.
All right, back on track.
The hoard, cash hoard.
You know she was hoping the prosecutor called her a cash whore. That way the mainstream media would come to her defense. Kind of like this. In fact, when Willis' father was asked about the loads of cash she kept in her house, he explained this was a black person type of thing.
When your daughter moved or left the house that she owned, did she say anything to you about having a large savings of cash?
Oh, no, see, maybe, excuse me, and Your Honor, I'm not trying to be racist, okay?
Whenever someone starts out saying I don't mean to sound racist or I'm not trying to be racist but, you know something racist is about to leave their mouth.
But it's a black thing, okay? You know, I was trained, and most black folks, they hide cash or they keep cash, and I trained, you always keep some cash because I've been places, and just because of the color of my skin, for example, I took a fellowship at Harvard when my daughter was just, if I might, Your Honor, when I was just, she was just, maybe 3 years old. And I remember going to a restaurant in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And I had a American Express credit card and maybe a Visa or whatever. And I had a lot of what they call traveler's checks. I don't even know if they still have traveler's checks, but traveler's checks. And there was a sign said, with the credit card. For whatever reasons, the man would not take my American Express credit card. So I pulled out my Visa card, and he wouldn't take my Visa card. So then I pulled out my traveler's checks. He said, we don't take checks. Now, these were traveler's checks. This was money. I had a $10 bill. I'll never forget this as long as I live. And he said, the bill for my wife at the time, Fani's mother, Fani and myself, was like $9.95, and I had a $10 bill. That was all that. I always remember that. But even before that, I've always kept cash, and I've told my daughter, you keep 6 months worth of cash, always. For example, I had 3 safes in my house. I put some of my clients' stuff there too, things I didn't want other lawyers to be, because you're always in a firm, and I knew that there were special conditions, so some of my clients' things I would bring home, put them in the safe. But I've always kept safes, and as a matter of fact, I gave my daughter her first cash box and told her always keep some cash.
That's the same explanation Willis gave when she was asked about the large sums of money in her home.
But I always have
cash at the house. That has been, I don't know, all my life. If you're a woman and you go on a date with a man, you better have $200 in your pocket. So if that man acts up, you can go where you want to go. So I keep cash in my house, and I don't keep cash as good in my purse like I used to. I don't go on many dates, but when you go on a date, you should have cash in your pocket.
So my question was, where did that cash originally come from, if it didn't come out of the bank?
Cash is fungible. I've had cash for years in my house. So for me to tell you the source of when it comes from, when you go to Publix and you buy something, you get $50, you throw it in there. It's been my whole life. When I took out a large amount of money on my first campaign, I kept some of the cash of that.
Did someone just admit to campaign finance violations?
Like, to tell you, I just have cash in my house. I don't have as much today as I would normally have, but I'm building back up now. So you just put money in. It's a very good practice. I would advise it to all women.
So you can't identify when you came into this cash or where the cash came from?
I didn't say I couldn't identify it. No, nobody gives me anything. I am sure that the source of the money is always the work, sweat, and tears of me. What you asked me for is, when did the money go in there? What I am trying to tell you is, so I got divorced in 2005 from my husband. No, it's important. You said, where did the money come from? And I need to tell you where the money came from. And so for many, many years, I have kept money in my house. That money in my worst days has probably only been $500 or $1,000. At my best days, I probably had $15,000 in my house at cash. At all times, there's going to be cash in my house or wherever I'm laying my head.
The money that you paid Mr. Wade, the cash, in October of 2022, you do not know where that money came from.
I do know where it came from. It came from my sweat and tears.
You know which job it came from. Did it come from Fulton County or did it come from a private job?
It came from, what are you talking about? So it could have come from a private job, because before I was DA, I was in private practice. So I earned money during that time period that's probably in there.
You don't know.
Regardless of which job it came from, Willis wants everyone to know it came from her blood, sweat, and tears. The craziest part of this whole saga? Wade and Willis would go on vacations and out to dinners, and Wade would charge things to his business credit card, even though the expenses were not business related. Willis claimed she would reimburse Wade but didn't have receipts for the transactions.
And then he tells me how much it is, and I give him the money back. I don't, just like you're asking me about the money with Robin, I don't do my friends like that. So if you tell me it's a G, then you're going to get $1,000. Whatever it is, I didn't ever make him produce receipts to me. Whatever he told me it was, I gave him the money back.
And yet Mr. Wade has no receipts either.
So in 2023, December, you said you didn't have any receipts.
I do not have any receipts. I did not have any receipts.
If this was business travel, Mr. Wade should have had receipts showing the expenditure and that his travel fell under business circumstances. The only reason not to have receipts and receive reimbursement via cash is to keep the expenses under wraps. Sure seems like Willis' previous words apply here.
Because they deserve a DA that won't have sex with his employees. Because they deserve a DA that won't put money in their own pocket when it should go to benefit children. Because we deserve better.
Yes, Fani Willis reneged on her promise to Fulton County. Voters got a DA who hired the guy she was having an affair with to go after her political enemy, all while pocketing taxpayer funds.